Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. We're returning to talking about Star Wars toys, finally. And since this is in a way a return to Star Wars, I think it only makes sense that I should do a kind of sorts, Return of the Jedi and talk about Luke Skywalker. This is the large-size Luke figure from 1978. Mine's in pretty decent condition. Don't have the box anymore. But I've got all the bits. I've got the grappling hook and the lightsaber, which I'll show you in a minute. He's in okay shape. The tunic is fairly white, which is apparently quite an unusual thing, but it's got a few marks. You know, you can tell he's got some wear and tear there, and there's a couple of marks on the back of the boots here that are, they might just be some kind of thing I could probably clean off. But yeah, let's talk about the large-size Luke action figure. Now, if I'm going to be doing that, as I talked about when I mentioned I'm bringing back the Star Wars stuff, that means it's time to pour me some whiskey from the Stormtrooper bottle, because I want to make sure this video does not get considered kid-friendly. This is definitely intended for adults, and so therefore, I'm having me some whiskey from my Stormtrooper whiskey bottle. Now, I'd always say cheers in a moment like this, but you know what? Let's come up with something different. How about we would be honored if you would join us? Lovely stuff. Okay. So, yeah, let's talk Luke. You know, what's interesting here, I don't even know why I got this, or what the circumstances were. When I was young, we didn't have a lot of cash, and these things were expensive. I mean, they are effectively, if you could argue that the little ones are an action figure, this is definitely a doll. Like, this is practically a Ken doll. In fact, don't you think Luke looks a little bit like the Ken doll figure there in the face? Like, that's very similar resemblance. And similarly to the Ken doll, the arms don't have a heck of a lot of articulation. Yes, you can move them up and down. And there is like a weird joint that allows you to bend the elbow a little bit. Same with the knees. The legs go up and down, straightforward, no problem there. But the knees bend on, it's all flesh colored underneath, but there's some kind of a little hinge joint thing inside there. Apparently, much like Ken and Barbie. And that's how limited these figures are. But I remember thinking to myself, when I was about to do this video, I thought, when did I get this? What were the circumstances? Was this a gift? Because I didn't have enough cash to really consider getting all the large-size action figures, and I didn't. Very similarly, I remember not necessarily going to be getting the small Luke figure. When the small figures came out, I remember thinking to myself, that's all very nice, and I do like Star Wars, but I don't have the cash for this kind of thing, so I'm not going to get any of these. And then I got Luke and R2 for a birthday present in '78, and kind of my fate was sealed. It's like, well, if I'm getting those, I'm getting all the rest of them. So that kind of explains what happened with the small figures, but the big ones, like, why would I get into these? These things were really expensive and much more doll-like, and it's not like you can put this guy in a land speed or anything, so why would I have bothered? I may have got this as a gift from a relative. If so, I thank you very much, whoever that was, and I apologize that I don't even have any memory of this occurring. I don't know if you can make it out. Luke's got a little bit of, like, 5 o'clock shadow there on his chin. But other than that, he's doing pretty decent for his years. Some of the hairs started to fleck a little bit. You can see his white bits showing through. But yeah, he's got all the other parts. Now, the other thing I've never understood when it comes to this particular rendition of the figure, especially compared to this rendition of the figure, are the boots and the leggings. On the figure here, it's all one color, the tan sort of thing. But for the large size, they decided to give him tan pants, which I think makes sense, but white boots? That doesn't seem quite right to me. I mean, obviously, depending on different shots, Mark Hamill's appearance in the first film, sometimes the pants look whiter than brown. And definitely, there's a well-known poster of Luke where it's an opposite case. He's got white pants and brown boots for sure. The boots are very interesting from the actual costume. I think they were like moccasins with these mummification sort of straps going around. And I don't know what... I've seen different versions of what these things look like if you were to ever buy a pair to wear yourself. A little note for this large-size figure, this unevenness around the top is very, very specific to the Luke figure. Obi-Wan Kenobi, when he was released, he had brown boots, and they did not have the unevenness and the sort of chipping or, you know, they're sort of, I guess because these are bandages wrapped around his legs, they're supposed to look like this. But in the case of Ben, they're much more flat and straightforward. To get back to the Ken comparison, I think this was actually a figure that was also used for the Hardy Boys. I found a website, Mike's Dolls, where he goes into discussing how, if you look at, there's another picture of a catalog for the Hardy Boys toys that came out also in 78, 79. I think it's Plaid Stallions is a website that shows you what that figure was going to be, at least a prototype version. Practically looks the same as this Luke. I mean, the legs and the face especially. So that's interesting. So I guess there's some similarity between our Luke and Joe Hardy of the Hardy Boys. Pardon me, and I have another little shot of my whiskey. Now, the figure does come with a lightsaber, and kudos for Kenner actually making this one, first of all, the right color. It is blue, unlike the yellow one that other guy has. And yes, the hilt here is very close to what it looked like in the show. It even has the little control knobs there and stuff. But then there's this giant handle on the back. Now, part of it is so he can hang it off his belt. And the other part of it is so that he can actually hold the lightsaber in his hand. You can kind of wedge it in here. And, or maybe it goes in the other hand. Yeah, okay, you can wedge it in the other hand here, and that handle does sort of keep it at bay. It does sort of work for a good position. But the weird thing is the length of the blade is so stubby. It's tiny. Why would they have such a small blade? I mean, the Darth Vader later on actually had a pretty decent length of blade on his, so why is this one so, you know, it's more like a light short sword than anything else. However, that's that. And the other bit, the one that apparently is quite uncommon to find, is the grappling hook. There's just a big roll of string around this. Let's see if I can... There, Luke, you stand there for a second, will you? And I'll just see if I can carefully untangle. Oh, man. Nope, that's not coming off easily. All right, well, rather than risk breaking it, you can make out there what the grappling hook was like. And it's very funny, like that's one short clip in the movie where he and Princess Leia swing over the chasm, and yet they decided to make that the item on Luke's belt that they wanted to have. I mean, why not the macro binoculars? I'm not sure. Oh, speaking of the belt, it holds on in a very interesting way. It's sort of just on this little, let's just take this right off here so I can show you. It's got a, you stay there, Luke. We'll deal with you in a sec. It's got this sort of puckered plastic slot. And on the belt, there's just a little bolt that sort of sits in there and sort of clicks into place. And there you go. There is the belt in how it operates. Some nice reproduction of all the little pockets on the sides there. Oop, lost that. One thing I'm kind of curious here. This is going to look a little... weird, but so Luke is essentially a Ken doll. So does that mean he follows the Ken doll rule? Is there a pair of molded on Ginch underneath there? Woo! No, there's not. Okay, so you know what? We'll just leave Luke with his modesty. No molded on Ginch, and that's a joke my sister will understand very well. All right, there is Luke back with all of his bits together. He's got his lightsaber in hand. He's ready to go. And, anybody wondering, how do you get that belt on there? If you can just get the bolt and the slot lined up, you can't really push it in because the stomach will stop it. But I find if I make a little pucker, like if I push in both directions there, that makes the two pieces meet. And it does a pretty decent job there. So Yeah, the large-size Luke Skywalker action figure. I don't even know why I got it. It was kind of an expensive series to get into, and I was barely able to afford the figures that I did manage to get eventually. I do remember getting others, which I will talk about in a future video, but just thought I would show off Luke here. And again, enjoy a good shot of my whiskey. All right, well, until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.